when you were a student and when you're an artist right now?
There is really a fine line between a student and an artist, and quite honestly, I'm still trying to figure out, the differences. But I guess a short way of saying it is, being a student, you're here to learn from this, distinguished artists, and being an artist, you're actually sharing music with them. But learning music is a never-ending process. So at the end of the day, we're all here to just make great music. So I never think about the what so-called the title or whatever. But, it's just inspiring to be here to make music and with all this great colleagues, students. So it's fantastic.
Is there like anything you want to share with the students, or because when you were a student, you would be with the students more than the artists, but now like you're one of them, and like once you were like looking up to them, but now you're more like one of them, and the students actually look up to you. So
yeah, well, I still feel like I'm a student here, because I really enjoy learning different things, different ideas from everyone. Even I'm also learning things from students. When they play, you actually learn from them, and so I guess it's a long way of saying I really don't feel the difference of a student or an artist.
So you have played the violin since you were 7, right?
That's right.
You moved to New York when you were 13?
13.
So did you choose the violin, or like was it your parents' influence? Like what kind of parents?
It was actually a funny story, which was told by my parents. When I was 4, apparently my parents took me to a violin lesson, and I have an older brother who plays the piano, not professionally now. So my mom was like, "Oh, it's nice, one piano and then one violin." So she took me to a violin lesson, and I hated it, the very first lesson, because I just find it, very awkward to put the violin, it's a very awkward position at the beginning, and you never make the sounds from the beginning. It's just like a straight, and so I hated it. I told my mom I don't want to play the violin, and my mom wasn't forcing on anything because she wasn't intentionally wanted me to be a musician at all. So I just ended up learning the piano. So I actually started the piano first, but those memory I did not recall at all. And until when I was 7, this I do remember, because we went to a recital by some violinists in my town, and I was so amazed by how this little wooden box can project through this amazing hall, 2,000 seats hall, without any amplification or whatever. And I just enjoyed the presence on stage. And so I told my mom I wanted the violin lesson, but I didn't remember I had a violin lesson before. My mom was surprised, but she gave me a violin lesson, and so that's how I started it. So I would say I started it. I wanted to start the violin myself, and I kept it up, and I enjoyed it.
And your parents were there. So can you tell us a little bit about the violin, your own interpretation or your own thoughts into it? Like what's so different about the violin from other string instruments?
Well, I think the violin is an extension of my body, and I really cannot live without it at this point. And I feel weird not to play on it for a day, or just even to look at it for a day. It feels like it's a part of my body that for example, when I'm on the plane for a long trip, let's say for a day or two, even no matter how tired I am when I get into the hotels, I have to open the violin case first and then pick it up, even just scales, whatever, open strings, great, whatever, just to get my fingers on the instrument for 10 minutes or something, it just makes me feel comfortable, and the violin is always with me. You know, I'm always. I would say violin has to be a person. It's not really an instrument for me. Violin feels like a person. It has moods, has temperament, has feelings. If the weather is not going well, violin is not going to sound as good as in good weather. And so, I would say, violin is a very intimate person in my life. I would say, the most intimate person in my life. I would say, yeah.
So, do you have any other goals or dreams? Because you're still pretty young.
Very young.
Comparatively, like not related to classical music or not related to any music.
I love eating.
Okay.
I love eating, and I always have the dream of opening a restaurant at some point in my life. I don't know if that would ever come true, but I'm not really good at cooking yet. But I would love to learn at some point. And so yeah, I would say opening up a restaurant.
As a manager or as a cook?
I would say as a manager first, and then I have to see how good I am at cooking first. But I love eating. Eating is a big part of my life. I think Grey Mountains is a place like none other, like any cultural institution like none other, and it's a place that's connected to education, a place for refilling for musicians, and also for inspiration for all of us. So I cannot be prouder to be just one of them, and then to be in this inspiring community.